All right, good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in for another live stream. If anybody's here in the chat, can you give me like a thumbs up or anything? It looks like we are live on YouTube. Just making sure here, but it looks like we are live. Hopefully we are, and if you can hear me well, let me know in the chat, please. So today's date, Friday, March 6, 2026. So a lot going on in the Middle East today. Not too much information coming out from Ukraine again. I wish we had more details regarding that war, but unfortunately, there's not a whole lot coming out still. I've been checking on what's happening out of Ukraine, and there's just really not a whole lot of details. But still a lot happening inside the Middle East right now. We'll talk about a very major story regarding Russia, actually. You guys probably seen the title already regarding intelligence. So we'll start off with that first story today. I've got numerous other things coming out over last night, going into early this morning in the Middle East regarding Iran. Looks like the U.S. is still hammering them pretty good. And I think Iran was warning last night they were going to be amplifying their attacks onto the U.S. as well, striking U.S. bases in Israel and whatnot. But for the most part, overnight, we haven't really seen too many attacks from Iran. And I've got some information today that could possibly indicate that the Iranians are starting to run out of stockpiles of weapons. Okay, a lot of it's being destroyed by the U.S. military along with Israel right now. So it makes you wonder how much longer Iran can keep up the fighting. So we'll talk about a lot of different things today. But first, let's talk about this story here regarding Russia. So it says Russia providing Iran intelligence to target U.S. soldiers in the Middle East. Okay, so this is pretty big news, but at the same time, maybe not so big, because we know that right now the U.S. is helping out Ukraine with intelligence. Morning, John Brewer. How you doing, man? Right now, Ukraine is getting intelligence support from the United States, and I think also France is doing a great deal to help them out with intelligence targeting against Russian forces. So the U.S. is technically doing the same thing with Ukraine, so that way Ukraine can target Russian troops. So not sure if this is a huge development, but nonetheless, I mean, very interesting. We were wondering a lot towards the start of this conflict, how much Russia is currently involved with this right now. What are they doing to support the Iranians? There was a lot of reports coming out that military transport planes from the Russian side were just flowing into Tehran towards the start of the conflict several weeks before it began. There was reports that Chinese transport planes were flowing into Tehran as well. So were they receiving, let's say, air defense equipment or attack helicopters? There was talks about that. The Russians were supplying, I think, Mi-28s, if I'm not mistaken, attack helicopters for the Iranians. So you'll have to wait and see. Is the U.S. going to respond to this in any way? Obviously, they're involved indirectly, not directly in the fighting, but giving intelligence to the Iranians. So I actually have a report that we're going to go over today. We'll start off with a mainstream news report, and then we'll go over to X, and I'll show you guys some independent news over there as well. So let's start off over here with Israel Hayom. This is directly out of Israeli media today. Says Russia aiding Iran with intelligence on U.S. military assets. Sources tell the Washington Post the intelligence included the locations of U.S. warships and aircraft in the Middle East. Okay, so yeah, again, interesting. So the Russians giving intelligence information over to the Iranians to carry out these attacks. So, for example, we had that report, I believe it was in Kuwait, just over the last few days, where we had a strike there that was carried out from Iran onto a makeshift U.S. military command post, I believe is what it was, and it was struck either from a drone or a missile. I believe it was a drone fired from Iran, and apparently we had up to, I think 6 or 7 different American soldiers that were killed and several wounded there in that strike. So is this Russia, helping out the Iranians to strike American soldiers? That's what it seems like. So we'll have to see how the U.S. responds to that. But let me show you this report here. Russia has been providing Iran with detailed intelligence about the locations of U.S. military forces in the Middle East in an effort to help the Islamic Republic target American assets in the region. The development marks the first indication of even indirect involvement by another major U.S. rival in the unfolding events in the Middle East. According to 3 sources familiar with the intelligence who spoke with the Washington Post, In a report published Friday morning, Russia has supplied Iran with precise information about the locations of U.S. military assets since fighting erupted last Saturday. The intelligence reportedly included the positions of warships and fighter jets deployed across the region. One source described the Russian effort to assist Tehran as fairly extensive and systematic. So that's what one source said, fairly extensive and systematic. So apparently they're giving a lot of critical targeting information over to the Iranians for them to carry out these attacks. Now, we haven't seen anything extreme, at least what's being reported from a U.S. Central Command in terms of damage on the U.S. side. But there's been numerous reports that the Iranians were claiming they shot down aircraft of the U.S. military. They, targeted the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, but CENTCOM continuously comes out and shoots down those reports and claims that they are not true, that they are false when they fact check them. So it says here also the exact scope of Russia's targeting assistance to Iran remains unclear. However, the sources said Iran's ability to independently locate U.S. forces was significantly degraded within less than a week after the fighting began, which may explain Tehran's urgent need for outside intelligence support. U.S. War Secretary Pete Hegseth addressed the issue of Russia and China earlier this week. Two countries are widely considered Iran's most powerful international backers. Hegseth said he had no special message for them and argued that they are not really playing a role here. Unlike Russia, China does not appear to be assisting Iran's defense efforts at this stage, despite the close ties between the two countries. Two of the intelligence sources said there are no signs that Beijing is involved in providing assistance to Tehran, suggesting China may currently prefer to keep some distance from the conflict in order to avoid jeopardizing its complex relationship with Washington. So remember that regarding China, as I do have a report later during the live stream. Regarding China, they're taking a lot of their pressure off Taiwan right now, which is interesting. So China appears to be kind of sitting on the back burner here. They're not really trying to get involved in any way at all. Meanwhile, a senior Ukrainian official told ABC News the Ukrainian drone interception specialist will be deployed across the Middle East in the coming days to help defend U.S. bases. That's good, really good news right there, that Ukrainian forces will be helping out the U.S. and also Israeli militaries defend their skies with drone interceptors. We talked about that yesterday. That was a very big report coming out. So, yeah, Hegseth kind of saying that no special message for China or Iran, and saying that no one is really playing a major role in this conflict. That includes China and Russia. So even though these reports are coming out that Russia's helping out the Iranians, apparently they're not doing a whole lot to really assist them or make it a major impact here in this conflict against the U.S. So very interesting report. I guess we'll have to wait for more details on that. But we will jump on over to X now. I've got some things I want to share with you guys over here. All right, so the Kobesi letter now. Breaking, U.S. oil prices surge above $86 a barrel for the first time since April 2024. Qatar is now warning that prices could hit $150 a barrel. Okay, this is widely getting out of control very quickly, guys. Let me check the current numbers right here. I've got the Market Watch app on my phone. Currently, oil's actually climbing back up. So I believe this morning it just barely touched like $90 a barrel. And right now it's sitting at currently $89.87. So just under $90 a barrel. It's up 10.94% today, up 8 basis points. So that's crazy, guys. It was at about $80 yesterday, now sitting just under $90 a barrel. So that's really going to impact inflation around the world. And right now, the U.S. is trying to combat inflation, so it's definitely going to cause a lot of problems in the United States, especially if this is carried on for a long time. Okay, if this conflict is resolved in a short time, let's say maybe in the next coming weeks, 3 to 4 weeks or something like that, I would think we might see a short rise in inflation and possibly gas prices, but then soon after that might start to really fall and drop off. I think that's something that Trump said a few days ago, but we'll have to wait and see. But so far, gas prices are starting to rise here. I've been seeing in my area, I think prices were going up to about $3.60 a barrel just yesterday. I'm sure that'll go up even more today. You guys let me know what kind of gas prices are you seeing in your area. Let me know in the chat. But Qatar is now warning prices could hit $150 a barrel. Let's hope that will not be the case. I'm sure that would be extremely unsustainable for many different economies, and we're going to see some massive problems with the global markets and economies. So, not good to see. Let's hope that they can get things under control. And a lot of this does have to do with the Strait of Hormuz. And I believe towards the end of this list of all these posts that I have for you guys, there is some information regarding the Strait of Hormuz. Still not looking very good over there. So let's move on to another one now. Next, footage has emerged of the destruction of a secret bunker beneath Tehran. 50 Israeli fighter jets struck the facility, which had been used by Iranian leaders, including the late Ali Khamenei. According to the IDF, Khamenei died before he could take refuge there, but other leaders continued to use the bunker. The secret facility was located beneath several streets in Tehran's government district and featured multiple entrances and meeting rooms. Wow, so here's new video footage coming out showing a huge underground bunker below Tehran that was leveled by U.S. and Israeli forces. So I believe Israel was attacking this too, and I think they used like 50 different fighter jets. Was being reported to slam this target and completely eliminate it. So an underground bunker that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was using at one point. Hey, how you doing, Wally Nut? He says, win at 50 cents in 2 days in Arkansas. Oh, it's gone up 50 cents in 2 days? Yeah, it's kind of what I've seen here too. About 50-cent increase in gas prices just over the last few days here. Tell us if you've heard anything if they're in Ecuador because they're on the ground. Are you talking about U.S. Southern Command? That was being reported just a couple of days ago that Southern Command was operating inside of Ecuador with the Ecuadorian military, and they were actually carrying out raids against cartel members over there. So, all right. So, yeah, pretty crazy what's happening over here. Inside of Iran, still having massive strikes being carried out over there. And as we can see in this new video, this was coming out last night, I believe. They leveled this underground bunker. So moving on to Channel 12 News. Wall Street Journal reports the UAE is considering freezing Iranian assets held in the country to punish Tehran for the attacks against it. Okay, so UAE coming out and threatening Iran. They're going to freeze their assets in the country because of all these attacks that have been taking place. So we know that, for example, like, many different high-rise buildings have been struck by drones, like inside of Dubai. We had the international airport over there pretty much shutting down for the most part. I think we have some updates today that certain airlines in some countries are starting to open back up. But a lot of their airports were being shut down inside of the UAE due to these drone and missile attacks. So it's not looking good over there. But yeah, we've got the UAE considering freezing Iranian assets in response for these attacks from Iran. Now, Marian Afal breaking and unconfirmed U.S. fighter jet reportedly shot down over Basra, Iraq. Basra police confirming they've dispatched units to search for an American pilot. Not yet confirmed by CENTCOM, but Iraqi police don't deploy search teams for nothing. If confirmed, this is the first American pilot captured in this war. This was being reported last night, but apparently CENTCOM is coming out today and saying this was not the case. Here's the update from them. U.S. Central Command, rumors are circulating on social media of a U.S. fighter jet shot down over Basra. These are baseless and not true. So as we continue to hear that the Iranians are claiming they're shooting down aircraft and whatnot, I'm not sure if they claim to shoot this one down, but there was a lot of reports coming out on X yesterday evening that an F-15 reportedly was shot down, I believe, over Basra in Iraq. Could have been shot down by the Iranians, but apparently, according to CENTCOM, they're saying that was not true. So, yeah, multiple reports that we've had of the Iranians claiming that they're shooting down fighter jets on the U.S. side, but CENTCOM saying that's not true at all. So now Mossad commentary. U.S. officials tell CBS News that 3 U.S. Air Force MQ-9 Reaper drones have been down during Operation Epic Fury. One reportedly attempted to crash into the sea off Iran's coast, while another is believed to have been shot down in a friendly fire incident by Qatar. The exact locations of the crashes remain unclear. Yeah, multiple sources talking about this today as well, that we could have had upwards of 3 MQ-9 Reaper drones that have been shot down during this Operation Epic Fury inside of Iran. I did see some videos that were coming out just the other day, allegedly showing some of these MQ-9s being shot down by air defense interceptors fired from Iran, but I could not completely confirm that. So there are some reports that U.S. officials are claiming to CBS News. You can take it with a grain of salt if you believe their reports, but several of these could have been shot down. And this is actually something that we've seen many times, even inside of Yemen. When these MQ-9s are actually monitoring over Yemen with the Houthis down there, which is another Iranian proxy group. We've had several of these actually shot down by the Houthis. So it wouldn't surprise me if Iran did take them down. They appear to be fairly easy to shoot down, is what we've seen out of Yemen. I think they shot down at least 5 or 7 of them throughout the duration of the conflict down there, which was mainly going on last year. But yeah, apparently some of these could have been shot down during this war here. Now, Megatron Ron breaking targeted assassination of American officers from the U.S. Navy 5th Fleet headquarters inside a building, likely hotel in Bahrain. Okay, so we know that the 5th Fleet has been attacked a lot in Bahrain. Some of the naval bases that are located in Bahrain have been under attack by the Iranians in recent days. So apparently we've got a video here. I'm not going to play it because it does have a watermark here, so it might be coming from another news organization, but we do have a fire here that was recorded on a high-rise building of a hotel. That could have been a direct strike from an Iranian drone. I cannot confirm that completely yet, but some sources are saying it could be connected to American soldiers that could have been based inside one of these hotel rooms. So not 100% confirmed there, but nonetheless, a drone strike onto yet again another hotel inside of Bahrain, just like we see a lot inside of Dubai in the UAE. Now, Channel 12 News is going to be directly out of Israel, says New York Times report. Iran has postponed the announcement of the successor to former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei due to security concerns. This comes after statements from the U.S. and Israel indicating that their new leader may also be a target for assassination. So we kind of heard about this yesterday, that it seemed like what's left of the Iranian government over there, they're very hesitant to elect a new supreme leader. So it's still on hold at this time. They're still postponing it. And we heard that several members of their assembly of experts were actually unwilling to hold a vote and try to, elect a new supreme leader in Iran, because just a few days ago, supposedly, an entire building was attacked by Israeli fighter jets that could have been hosting roughly about 80 or so members of their assembly of experts that were trying to hold a vote to elect a new supreme leader, and that came under attack and was destroyed. Could have had multiple people being killed in there. I have not been able to confirm who was exactly killed or injured in those attacks, but that was a report that came out a couple days ago. What's going on, Jay Fitzarelli? How you doing, man? Thanks for being here. Yeah, so it looks like they're still concerned right now about being attacked again, and right now, due to security concerns, they're holding off and postponing an election for a new supreme leader. So now Megatron Ron breaking hours after the latest Iranian attack. Ali al-Salem base in Kuwait is still burning. So this base actually came under attack a few days ago when I wasn't able to be here, when I was sick. So this base apparently being used by the Kuwait military. I'm not sure if the U.S. uses it also. I believe they could. But this came under attack just a few days ago and now was struck again apparently last night, either missiles or drones. I'm not sure what it was that struck it, but here's somebody driving by showing a huge blaze coming from this airbase over here. So it looks like the Iranians did score a direct hit. But aside from that, we're not seeing too many strikes here inside these Gulf nations, which possibly indicates that the Iranians are running out of capabilities to strike back. So yeah, Ali al-Salem base in Kuwait right there in that video. So let's move on to another one now. Max 25 Washington Post reports that American intelligence sees no signs of uprisings or internal dissension in Iran. The Iranian government remains in complete control of the country. Okay, yeah, this came out yesterday afternoon. You see here, March 5th, 1:25 p.m. So this is what the Washington Post was reporting, that American intelligence sees no uprisings or no threat of overthrowing the government over there. Okay, there's apparently still some, we're still seeing some, uprisings like protests and whatnot, but for the most part, what we're seeing inside of Iran, a lot of people are actually being told to stay indoors due to the constant bombings that are taking place inside of Iran. So I'm not sure if we'll see any kind of protests or anything like that until maybe after a lot of the bombing cease. But we keep hearing that it could be 4 or 5 weeks before that's going to be the case. So we'll have to see how that goes. But right now, they don't see Iran's government toppling anytime soon. So now Ozen technical footage of American aircraft bombing the Iranian Navy, drone carrier Shahid Beheshti in the Persian Gulf, setting it ablaze. This is a new video coming out, just came out yesterday afternoon. This drone carrier ship that came under attack. Now, I don't know how many of these they have. I believe there was another one that could have been struck as well. Some of these names, I get them confused. But this is apparently one of them that was struck here, a drone carrier. And apparently this thing is roughly about the size of an American aircraft carrier that was used in World War II, is what's being reported. So these things carry drones and like helicopters. And reportedly it got blown up here. This is the video coming out from U.S. CENTCOM Central Command. This is kind of what it looks like here before it was destroyed, obviously. Let me get some water real quick. So yeah, it got hit pretty hard and apparently was destroyed and possibly even sunk. So this is what it would have looked like before it was destroyed and used inside of the Iranian Navy. And I did see some reports today that we could have upwards of 30 different naval ships that have been struck and destroyed now. So it really seems like by the time this war is over with, Iran is basically going to have no navy. And we know that's obviously one of the major key goals here from the U.S. military along with Israel. They want to completely destroy Iran's capabilities on the sea, on land, air, everything. They're just completely annihilating the IRGC right now. Now, open source intel breaking: Islamic regime warship going up in flames by the Qasem Island in the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so this video was coming out just today, earlier this morning, and I'm not sure what ship this is. Could this be that same drone carrier? I'm not 100% if it is, but it kind of looks like it. But we've got some sort of ship here on fire, allegedly could be connected to the Iranian Navy just off the coast in the Persian Gulf. So looks like the U.S. military is still consistently striking Iran's naval ships, especially in the Persian Gulf around the Straits of Hormuz, and wiping out their naval capabilities. So that is crazy video there. Now, Monitor X, U.S. media, the United States has issued a temporary exemption for 30 days, allowing the sale of Russian oil stranded at sea to India to ease the pressure on the global oil market. So I have been seeing a lot of people are very unhappy about this. We've got multiple mainstream news outlets that are reporting this as of yesterday afternoon. So apparently the U.S., what they're doing is they're giving a temporary exemption for sanctions onto Russia to allow the sale of Russian oil to head into India. As we have been hearing in recent months, that right now there's a lot of oil tankers building off the coast of India because they cannot drop off their oil due to sanctions that the U.S. put onto Russia. So because oil prices are rising right now, they actually gave a 30-day exemption for the Russians to sell oil to India. And that's pretty crazy. I mean, at the same time, while the Russians are giving intelligence support reportedly over to the Iranians, at the same time, the U.S. is giving sanctions or lowering sanctions here onto Russia to allow them to produce more income. Now, obviously, this is more in regards to the global oil market to help lower prices, but obviously it's going to help the Russians out in their war against Ukraine. So you guys let me know what you think about that. That's obviously a very sticky situation. I'm sure some people are going to be very unhappy about this. It's going to help the Russians out a lot. And obviously, even right now, with the gas prices going up, as we mentioned earlier, just sitting right under $90 a barrel, last I checked right now, this is going to greatly help the Russian military right now. We remember when prices were coming down to like, what was it, 50-something dollars a barrel, $58 a barrel. That was really hurting Russia's economy. But now, with this new rise in oil prices, is going to help them fight the war in Ukraine. So definitely not good news here. So now Kabesi letter breaking: 3 of the 4 big Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar, are discussing withdrawing from U.S. and other investments as the toll from the war with Iran mounts. This is according to the Financial Times. Details include: number 1, budget stains are reportedly mounting due to reduced income from energy, shipping, and tourism. Number 2, countries could reassess investment commitments to the U.S. The move would be viewed as a precautionary measure. Moves that jeopardize U.S. investments could pressure President Trump. Over $2 trillion in U.S. investment appears to be at risk. Okay, so I haven't seen any movement on this story just yet. It's barely being announced as of yesterday afternoon. So could these Gulf countries start to pull back on investments with the U.S. Due to budget restraints? Okay, because right now they're taking on massive losses with their airlines being shut down due to all these drone attacks. It's got to be hurting their economies a lot. Many of these different Gulf nations, also their energy sites being attacked by the Iranians as well. So it looks like they're trying to pull back on investments right now because they probably are not going to have the budget allocated for these investments. And could that put pressure on Trump as well to hurry up and end this war? Now, what's interesting, another backstory behind this is there was another report that came out yesterday that apparently the Gulf nations are also telling Trump to continue. So it's kind of the opposite. So at the same time, while their economies are taking a major hit and they're risking, pulling U.S. investment, at the same time, they're reportedly telling Trump to continue the actions against Iran. So, I mean, at this point, it really seems like the U.S. is already all in on this conflict. There's really no ending it until the RGC is completely destroyed. So, I think that's going to be the move here moving forward. Is we're just going to see this conflict continue until the U.S. carries out or completes their operation onto Iran, basically demilitarizing them and destroying their nuclear program. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments on that. So now Mossad commentary breaking, Hezbollah has issued an evacuation warning for Israelis living within 5 kilometers of the Lebanese border, saying Israeli strikes on Lebanese infrastructure, civilian displacement, and violations of Lebanese sovereignty will not go unanswered. So yeah, this was a report coming out yesterday evening also. So Hezbollah announcing that the Israeli civilians on the border there with Lebanon need to pull back within 5 kilometers from the border of Lebanon because they're going to be carrying out military offensives against Israel. Now, I have not been able to completely confirm that it started yet, but Hezbollah did warn Israel last night that they were going to be doing this. So, last we heard, Israel is striking inside of Lebanon. They have been doing this for a long time, going after Hezbollah targets. And if you guys aren't familiar with who Hezbollah is, they're basically an Iranian-backed military group or paramilitary group that operates inside of Lebanon. And they've been attacking Israel for a very long time now. And they're actually financed by Iran. So yeah, they're threatening to attack into Israel again, and it looks like this conflict could erupt. Now, the real question is, how much capabilities does Hezbollah have? Because ever since the major conflict that broke out, what was it, last year, we haven't really seen Hezbollah doing a whole lot against Israel. Israel's actually been pounding a lot of their ammunition depot sites. We've been seeing a lot of strikes over there, especially to the run-up of this conflict with the U.S. and Iran. So I'm not sure how much Hezbollah's capabilities will be, but they are warning that they will be attacking into Israel at some point soon. So now from Monitor X, the U.S. War Department is seeking Congress for new funding to replace the munitions used in the war against Iran, Wall Street Journal reports. Tons of interceptors and cruise missiles like Patriots, THAADs, and Tomahawks were used in large numbers, draining stockpiles. Just the initial 4 days of military operations alone might have cost around $11 billion based on early estimates. So that is crazy, guys. $11 billion. So $11 billion in just 4 days of this war. So what are we? I think we're approaching 1 week now, aren't we? We're coming up on 1 week here very soon. I think tonight, somewhere around 11 or 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., I guess I should say, tonight would be roughly about 1 week of this war. So makes you wonder how much longer this is going to go on. But apparently the U.S. War Department is going to be trying to ask Congress for new funding to replace munitions that have been used. So $11 billion already being spent. So this is pretty crazy how much money is being thrown at this conflict right now. I mean, they're dropping a lot of heavy bombs onto Iran, and many of these are very expensive. Think about all the interceptors that are being spent. I mean, this is probably going to be a very expensive conflict by the time it is done. So let's all hope that it ends sooner than later, because if it gets dragged on for a very long time, I don't think this will be good for the U.S. economy and also the global economy, especially if it continues to erupt and engulf more nations. And if Iran continues to strike critical energy infrastructure like we've been seeing here recently, like here in this photo, it's going to impact the entire global economy and we're already seeing a lot of different markets being affected by this right now. That's also why the U.S. stock market is going down today. I think the Dow was down, last I checked, somewhere around 600 points. I think it was down roughly about 800 at one point. So U.S. stock market taking a hit today. Now, Mossad commentary following a new wave of Israeli strikes, smoke rises over Tehran. This was last night as well inside of Tehran. So you can see here in some of these photos, we had massive Israeli airstrikes being carried out. So I think it was hundreds of fighter jets were being reported. Towards yesterday afternoon, there could have been over 120 fighter jets that were heading towards Iran to bomb targets. And as we can see, multiple strikes here in some of these images. Inside of Iran yesterday, it looks like a huge fire had broken out right there as well, most likely going after more IRGC installations. So now, World Source News, IRGC reports Iran's attacks will become more intense in the coming days. Okay, I mentioned this earlier. So the IRGC was warning this yesterday evening. I think it was one of their senior commanders claiming their attacks are going to become more intense. Now, they've been kind of saying this for a few days now, that they were going to increase their attacks. They were going to use weapons that they have not unveiled yet, or that they haven't even used. They've only begun. Now, the question here is, if they're going to use like missiles, for example, do they have enough ballistic missile launchers? Because I think it was just yesterday that Israel was claiming they destroyed somewhere around 300 of these ballistic missile launchers, if not even more by now. So how many of these does Iran have? It's definitely not looking good for them. So I'm wondering how they're going to be increasing their attacks onto the U.S. and Israel here soon. So now next, Trump stated that he would support a possible offensive by Iranian Kurdish forces against the government in Tehran, according to Reuters. He said it was remarkable that Kurdish formations were ready for such actions, but did not clarify whether Washington would provide them with military assistance. According to sources from the agency, pro-American Kurdish forces in Iraq are already forming units that could enter Iranian territory. So we keep hearing more stories about this on whether the Kurdish people are going to get involved in the fighting. So Kurdistan is pretty much the Kurdish people that are indigenous population to the Middle East. They live inside of Iran and like northwestern Iran. I think they live in Syria, Iraq, parts of Turkey as well, I believe. And we've been hearing that the American side has been kind of pressing for the Kurdish government to get involved and launch a ground invasion into Iran. So there was some reports yesterday that they're starting to somewhat mobilize and move in equipment near the border of Iran inside of Iraq. But so far, we haven't seen any official announcement that they are involved. I think they came out just the other day claiming that they are not going to involve themselves in this conflict in any way. So we're still waiting for more details, but this came out yesterday afternoon. Apparently, the U.S. government is still trying to involve the Kurds in this conflict. So now Vice Grad 24 breaking, Iranian suicide drones are attacking the Israeli embassy in Bahrain. So this was being reported yesterday evening as well, but obviously it would have been daytime inside of Bahrain. And we had the Israeli embassy apparently being struck. I believe this is the building right here. Looks like a drone may have struck the top of the building, and we had a fire that broke out there. So even the Israeli embassy coming under attack inside of Bahrain. We had another embassy, I believe was it in Saudi Arabia? It could have been the UAE, but I believe it was Saudi Arabia that was being attacked. One of their embassies connected to the United States was attacked recently, and then we also had a U.S. consulate that was attacked as well. So lots of government buildings still being attacked by the Iranians. This was reported yesterday night. So now next, shipping in the Straits of Hormuz has nearly come to a halt, according to Bloomberg, in the past 24 hours. Only 2 commercial vessels have passed through the strait with no oil tankers. Amid the Middle East war, dozens of oil and gas tankers remain in the Persian Gulf, fearing attacks, the publication notes. Okay, so we've got Bloomberg reporting this today. Strait of Hormuz shipping is at near total halt, JMIC says. Okay, so that's not good news. This is probably also why we're seeing stocks go down today and oil prices rising. Let me check it again right now. It's changing pretty quickly. So we were just at $89.87 just about, 20 minutes ago maybe? Now we're sitting at $91.18. So Crude oil is up 12.55% on the day today. So yeah, it's definitely smashing down stocks right now. The Dow's down 1.44%. I think it was just down 1.2% earlier. So we're seeing a lot of fluctuations with the markets today, but overall, it's not looking good in terms of oil. So as I mentioned yesterday, I think it's a good time to go and fill up your gas tanks because I think gas is going to continue to rise for right now. I think last I checked in my area here, we were at about $3.60 or so. So that's probably going to be up to $4 here very soon with this major jump today. We went from what, $80 yesterday to about $90 today just overnight. So let's see what's going to happen with the Strait of Hormuz, if they're going to be able to get ships to traverse through there. But I've seen a couple other clips of ships that are moving through the Strait of Hormuz over the last 24 to 48 hours, and it's basically nothing. There might be one or two every now and then that traverse through there, but majority of them are choosing not to go through the Strait of Hormuz. So they're either trapped in the Persian Gulf or they're trapped out in the Arabian Sea or the Gulf of Oman, and they can't even move into the Strait of Hormuz. So that is not good news there. But check this out now from open source intel. It says new Israeli airline El Al will resume outbound flights this Sunday. Tells you everything you need to know about the IRGC's missile stockpiles. Okay, this is big news. So 1 week later, after this airline inside of Israel was announcing they were going to be stopping their flights, their outbound flights, now they're going to be doing that. So that does tell you a lot on what's happening on the ground inside of Iran. If the Israelis are now starting to resume certain flights at, let's say, for example, the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, this means that the Iranians' capabilities are dwindling right now. Okay, they probably do not have a lot of capabilities to strike Israel, and Israel's got that intelligence, so they can basically open up their airlines again. So if we see more airlines starting to open up and say, let's say some of these Gulf nations or inside of Israel, like we're seeing with this report, this tells me that the Iranians are basically losing the fight right now, and very soon could their capabilities be depleted. Definitely not looking good for Iran. So that's it for that bit of news there. I've got more things that I can share with you guys. Just going to have to give me a minute to kind of pull this up. But in the meantime, let me know in the chat how your day is going, guys. By the way, happy Friday. I'm really excited for Friday today. We're going right into the weekend. So it should be a fun and exciting weekend. Let me know what you guys are doing. You guys got anything planned or anything like that? Let me just pull up some of these reports. I've got a bunch of other things here to share with you guys today. Just give me a couple minutes here and we'll set up some of these other reports and we'll go over these. I think I've got maybe one report on Ukraine today. Nothing too extreme. There's not a whole lot on Ukraine at the moment. But definitely lots of reports still coming out from the Middle East right now. Let's see here. I guess we can start with this report from Ukraine. I'll pull that up first. But aside from that, not a whole lot there in Ukraine. But again, happy Friday, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. And appreciate you guys tuning in today and hanging out here with me. Okay. Just give me a couple minutes here. Just got to go over some of these reports real quick before we jump into them, and I'll start sharing more details with you. All right, sorry, you might hear some loud noises for a second. I got a couple videos that I can share with you guys too. Let's see. Okay. One moment, guys. Thanks for your patience. All right. Just give me about 2 minutes and then I'll be ready. My apologies for the loud sounds. Should be just a minute. Yep, lots of heavy airstrikes still taking place inside of Tehran. Even earlier today, we'll go over some of these new videos. Got videos coming out from Israel as well, showing strikes on more ballistic missile launchers. Almost ready, guys. Just 1 second. We'll have an update also from House Speaker Mike Johnson regarding the war in Iran. I'll have a video on that to share with you guys here too. Just stay tuned for that. All right, just about ready here. Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your patience. Thank you very, very much. I know it's kind of boring when I'm not showing much, but I'm just trying to get this set up for you guys so that way it just kind of moves smoothly and that we don't have any issues. So it's a lot of information that I got to, pull up, and I can't have too many tabs open because it'll literally crash my computer. It uses a lot of resources on your computer when you have so many tabs open, so I can only pull open so much at a time. Plus, I'm also streaming, so okay. I think we're ready to go. Okay. Here we go. So here's more information, guys. Let's jump back to it. Thanks for your patience again. So War Monitor, Russia's expanding military units at the border with NATO, giving them battlefield experience or battle experience, in Ukraine. Could use them as hubs in a conflict with NATO after the war, Lithuanian intelligence reported. So this is coming out from Lithuania today. That Russia is expanding their military units at the border with NATO. So I'm assuming that's probably up near maybe Finland and some of the Baltic nations. We've been hearing about this, that the Russians are expanding their military bases and their presence there right on the border with NATO. That's been announced for, I want to say, over a year now. But Lithuania is warning about this. I'm assuming it's near their territory, and they could be preparing for a conflict with NATO after the war with Ukraine ends. So just get ready for that. I mean, a lot of people have been warning about this for a long time. Many different top leaders in NATO have been claiming that after the war with Ukraine comes to an end, could NATO be the next target? We'll have to wait and see, but hopefully that won't be the case. But they are warning about that. So that's really the only update that I was able to find regarding Ukraine today. It's crazy. It's just all Middle East news. There's really nothing coming out from Ukraine right now. It makes you wonder, how's the war going over there? Zelensky did mention yesterday in his address to the Ukrainian people that, the front line is still very active. There's still lots of attacks taking place. But something that I've noticed is over the past week, ever since this whole conflict broke out with Israel, the United States, and Iran, we haven't seen any attacks onto Ukraine really at all. Like, massive attacks, let's say 20, 30 ballistic missiles plus 400 or 500 drones. We haven't seen anything like that. It makes you wonder how things are going over there, but it's really hard to get information out of Ukraine, unfortunately, right now, because everybody's directing their attention to the Middle East. And that's something that Zelensky said yesterday also. So here's video now. It says, breaking, IDF has launched a new wave of strikes on Iran with heavy explosions reported in Ilam, if I'm saying the name of that right, and other Western provinces as part of ongoing air operations against the regime's military and missile sites. This is ViceGrad24 posted this today. So, wow, look at that, guys. Massive airstrikes being carried out over here in the city of Ilam inside of Iran, going after IRGC installations again. So, yeah, these airstrikes are still being carried out in mass across Iran, multiple different cities still being targeted. We can see some huge explosions there from these airstrikes. Now, Clash reports, White House says the U.S. military has more than enough munitions, ammo, and weapon stockpiles to continue demolishing the Iranian regime and finish Operation Epic Fury no matter how long it lasts. Nevertheless, President Trump has always been intensely focused on strengthening our military, which is why the meeting with defense contractors was scheduled weeks ago. The president will continue to call on these U.S. companies to more speedily build American made weapons, which are the absolute best in the world. So the White House is claiming they've got enough munitions to continue fighting endlessly, no matter how long this operation lasts inside of Iran. So it's interesting. We hear a lot of reports that, let's say, the Gulf nations are running out of air defense interceptors, dwindling stockpiles here from the U.S. military and whatnot. But was it Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of War? He was speaking during a press briefing, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and he mentioned they've got an unlimited stockpile basically of like 1,000, 2,000 pound bombs. And apparently they can keep striking Iran endlessly. There might be low stockpiles on certain types of missiles. Let's say Tomahawks, for example. They might not have too many of those, but apparently they're 2,000 pound bombs, 1,000 pound bombs. They've got a lot of those at their disposal to keep hitting Iran with, and that appears to be a lot of the munitions we're seeing. Towards the beginning, we saw a lot of Tomahawks going into Iran. I haven't seen too many videos ever since the beginning of the operation regarding Tomahawks, so seems like most of the strikes we are seeing are just like guided bombs being dropped onto Iran right now. So now from Israel Radar, Iran war update. Heavy wave of Israeli strikes in Tehran overnight. IDF dropped total of 6,000 munitions in Iran so far. Can you believe that? 6,000 munitions being dropped. Iran delays announcement of new leader, fearing he will be eliminated, Tehran asked UN members to stop the war. CENTCOM chief says over 30 Iranian Navy ships destroyed in strikes. This was according to Channel 12 News out of Israel and Khan News, which I believe is Israeli. If not, it's a Middle Eastern outlet somewhere over there. Those all come from the Middle East. But yeah, so apparently 30 Iranian Navy ships could have been destroyed in these strikes, according to a CENTCOM chief. So yeah, yesterday, weren't we at like 20 or something like that, or 20, little over 20? Now it's recorded as 30 Iranian Navy ships have been destroyed, as I mentioned earlier. So crazy how many munitions we're seeing being dropped onto Iran, and at the same time, their navy's basically being obliterated on top of their actual military in Iran. So now Dr. Eli David breaking. Hossein Tayeb, former head of IRGC intelligence, was eliminated in a targeted strike on his house. He had the blood of thousands of Iranians on his hands. So this is usually a pretty credible source coming out from Dr. Eli David. I have showed his post before. I have not completely confirmed this, but this could be the head of, or the former head, of the IRGC intelligence agency, and he could have been eliminated in a strike directly on his home here recently over the last 24 hours. So you can see he was posting this earlier today, March 6th at 5:13 a.m. So I'll see if I can get some information on that later and confirm that, but it looks like that could be a possibility there. Now, in technical, this morning, U.S.-Israeli forces mounted a series of airstrikes in Iran's capital of Tehran. Numerous bombs were dropped on the Imam Ali Officers Academy. So also in Imam here, we can see that even in the nighttime, last night we had strikes being carried out on top of that during the day, as I showed you guys in that video earlier. I won't be able to play this video, but I will put it down in the chat for you guys if you guys want to check out that link. There's the link right there if you want to go watch it yourself. But here's like a little snapshot. If you can see multiple strikes here, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possibly or more, just right here in the city of Imam, coming under attack by Israeli and U.S. forces here. It says mounted a series of airstrikes in the near the capital of Tehran. So lots of strikes being reported here onto the IRGC as well. Now, current reports breaking. China's in talks with Iran to allow Qatari liquefied natural gas transport vessels safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. China is unhappy with Iran's decision to close the strait. This was being reported by Reuters today. This is big news right here. So yeah, China, they're very quiet right now. They haven't really been very vocal regarding this war. They're not doing a whole lot to really support the Iranians. And at the same time, apparently they are in talks with Iran right now to allow Qatari liquefied natural gas to come out of the Strait of Hormuz, because I'm sure they're getting hit hard by this right now. We know that a lot of nations over there, like Southeast Asia, really being affected by the Strait of Hormuz closure For example, like Korea, they're getting hit hard right now too. I think they had a lawmaker in their parliament that mentioned yesterday they had something like 9 days left of liquefied natural gas supplies because Qatar had to shut down pretty much their largest liquefied natural gas company due to strikes from Iran. So you can see this is really affecting the entire world. And even China appears to be very concerned about this right now. It's going to be impacting their economy if they're not able to get liquefied natural gas supplies from the Middle East. So China very concerned right now. So now Eli Afriat breaking an Iranian ballistic missile factory hidden in Tehran was destroyed by the Americans. Yeah, look at this, guys. This is crazy video footage right here. Another massive explosion and airstrike being carried out onto the IRGC. And you can see here a huge fire that has ensued and lots of smoke coming from this airstrike. So lots of targets still being carried out inside of Iran. This case located in their capital of Tehran today, destroyed by the American military. Now, open source intel, Tehran strike hits the Revolutionary Guards Makadad, if I'm saying that right, base in the city's west near Azadi Square. So yeah, so many strikes being carried out. This one also, I'm not sure if I can show it to you guys, but I will link this one also in the chat. There's a link to that one if you guys want to check out the actual, full clip yourself. But yeah, in here we can just see, look at that, guys, just completely being leveled here in these airstrikes. Some of these clips, I'm not sure where they come from, so I have to be pretty careful what I show here to you guys on YouTube. This could be like a major news outlet reporting this. So yeah, huge explosions here with this airstrike. It says here Makadad base in city's west near Azadi Square inside of Tehran. So yeah, just massive strikes consistently here all throughout the last 24 hours. Now, Vicegrad 24, 6 Iranian ballistic missile launchers armed and ready to attack Israel were destroyed in Israeli airstrikes on Wednesday night, the military says. The Israeli Air Force struck the launchers minutes before the missiles were set to be fired. So here's some new video coming out from the Israeli military showing strikes on ballistic missile launchers inside of Iran. So they claim to destroy about 6 of these just overnight. So as I mentioned earlier, in case you guys are just tuning in, there was reports yesterday that Israel was claiming the destruction of about 300 ballistic missile launchers inside of Iran. I'm sure that number is much higher by now. But yeah, it looks like they consistently destroy many of these ballistic missile launchers. And this is much more important to destroy these compared to the facilities, because if they don't have launchers, they obviously can't fire these ballistic missiles no matter how many they have left. So you can see a lot of destruction there. Now, Megatron Ron knew a U.S. stealth pilot who took off from Israel's Avda Air Base forgot to turn off his transmitter on the way to Iran and was detected over Saudi Arabia, as reported by Con News correspondent Itay Blumenthal, citing Flight Radar 24. This was according to The Cradle, which is going to be a news outlet. This comes after Iran's ambassador to Saudi Arabia thanked Riyadh for pledging not to allow its territory or airspace to be used in attacks during the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. Yeah, so if you remember, towards the beginning of this war, Saudi Arabia came out numerous times. They said they would not allow the U.S. military to utilize their airspace for attacks onto Iran. And apparently we had this U.S. fighter jet that left his transponder on coming out of Israel, flying over Saudi Arabia's airspace. And I wonder if the Iranians were able to capture this information or not. But if they do, I wouldn't be surprised they try to bomb Saudi Arabia again. But nonetheless, we've already seen multiple strikes onto Saudi Arabia, even without this information. So Iran still attacking Saudi Arabia at this time. We have not heard of any strikes over the last 24 hours, for example, in Riyadh right here. But there was a lot of reports of strikes there over, the last few days, last 2 or 3 days or so. So very interesting there. Let me know your thoughts about this regarding this fighter jets over Saudi Arabia. Now from Tendar, the replenishment oiler Iris Boucher of the Iranian Navy has been interned after its crew surrendered its vessel in Colombo in Sri Lanka. The ship might be one of the few, if not only, major vessel of the Iranian Navy which will be left after this war. Okay, so if you remember, just the other day I reported to you guys that the U.S. military, or the Navy, utilized a U.S. submarine firing a torpedo and struck an Iranian frigate that was actually off the coast of Sri Lanka here heading towards Iran. Apparently, it was doing some naval drills off the coast of India. Then it started heading back towards Iran during this conflict, and a U.S. submarine struck it using a torpedo and completely destroyed it. And then within 24 hours later, we had this other ship here, the Iris Bashir, if I'm saying the name of that right. It was actually heading back towards Iran and then decided to surrender its ship and leave it at a port here inside of Colombo in Sri Lanka, as most likely they're concerned if they try to head towards Iran, they'll probably be attacked as well. So yeah, if you think about it, this might be one of the only remaining ships by the time this conflict is over that may remain of the Iranian Navy when this whole war ends. So that's pretty crazy there. Now, insider paper breaking: Iran president says some countries have begun mediation efforts to end the war. Now, this is interesting. I did not see any like mainstream news talking about this, but Iran's president is claiming that certain countries, we don't know what countries those are trying to begin mediation efforts. They're trying to get involved to get some sort of ceasefire or force an end to this war. Now, that could be interesting as well. Which countries these are. I would think the Gulf nations, they haven't really said anything. As I mentioned earlier, the Gulf nations were reportedly telling Trump to continue the operation inside of Iran, even though they're taking on massive losses right now with their economy and all these drone attacks and everything. So that could be very interesting if I get more details on that. Maybe we can talk about that more later, but apparently Iran's president is saying some countries are ready to begin mediation efforts to stop the war. So now it was in technical footage of American fighters dropping JDAM guided bombs on Iranian AAA positions. So I believe these are like anti-aircraft positions being destroyed here. Look at all these sites being knocked out and hit in these airstrikes. So we're seeing so many of these different videos coming out from CENTCOM here recently, just completely depleting the Iranian military here. Just so many strikes being carried out. So look at that. Multiple installations there of anti-aircraft guns being destroyed. So now for next, House Speaker Mike Johnson: United States is not at war with Iran. According to him, the operation against Iran is limited in its scope and duration and is already close to achieving its objectives. And he says, we are taking down Iran's ballistic missile capability, its stockpile, and its ability to produce more, Johnson said. He also noted that the war powers resolution that could have limited the president's action failed in Congress, calling it the right result. So what he's talking about is a resolution that, if it would have been passed through the Senate, could have been passed through the House, and it would have basically forced U.S. President Donald Trump to stop this war with Iran without congressional approval. That got shot down in the Senate yesterday. Senate Republicans came together and voted against it. So that's kind of what he's talking about here. But yeah, he's going to be discussing in this video Iran's ability to basically fire back. And right now he's claiming that things are going really well with the U.S. military and they're taking down Iran's ballistic missile capabilities. So about a minute-long clip. Go ahead and check out Speaker of the House Mike Johnson.
Well, we just had an important series of votes on the House floor. As you know, the War Powers Resolution failed. That is the right result. We are not at war. We have no intention of being at war. The President and the Department of Defense have made this very clear. The Department of War has made it very clear. This is a limited operation. It's an operation that's limited in its scope and duration. It has a very clear mission, and that mission is nearly accomplished by all estimates. We are taking down Iran's ballistic missile capability, its stockpile, and its ability to produce more. They were doing that at a scale and a speed that was more than our regional allies could keep up with, and it was a serious and imminent threat to the United States. We don't need to relitigate all that today, but also we wanted to take down the capability of their Navy, and all of that has been very successful. So this needs to continue. It would have been a very dangerous gambit to take the Commander-in-Chief's ability away to complete this mission. It would have been a very serious misstep by Congress, and I'm grateful that that resolution failed.
Okay, so let me know your thoughts, guys, down in the chat or comments. What do you think about this? Do you think the U.S. military is doing a good job over there right now? I mean, we continuously hear new reports coming out that their ballistic missile capabilities being destroyed. Trump was saying all their radars are gone, their air defenses are gone. They've basically got nothing left. And we keep hearing, the timeline on this is roughly about 4 to 5 weeks. So it's going to take 4 or 5 weeks. Is it going to take less? Could we be done in the next week? I would think that Trump would want to get this over with as soon as possible, especially right now with oil prices rising around the world. It's going to be greatly impacting the entire global economy with the rise of oil. And again, Qatar is warning today that gas prices or oil prices, could go upwards of $150 a barrel if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened soon. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen, but definitely a lot of pressure on the U.S. administration right now, but they're claiming they're doing a really good job of basically annihilating the IRGC. So now Spectator Index breaking, Azerbaijan is withdrawing its diplomats from Iran. Okay, so one of the first actions coming out from Azerbaijan, if you guys did not catch my live stream yesterday, we talked about this. It was a pretty big story. We had multiple drones that supposedly came from Iran and crashed inside of Azerbaijan. We had one of their major international airports that were struck by a drone. There was massive damage there to the airport terminal. And then we also had a school full of children at the time. It was actually in session. I showed you guys a video on that. A drone landed very close to that school, and the kids literally started screaming right when that drone went off. Roughly about 4 people, I believe, it could have been more by now, but yesterday it was reported as 4 people that were actually injured in these attacks. So Azerbaijan was coming out saying they were going to be retaliating. They'd be responding in some sort of way. Their defense minister said they reserve the right to retaliate onto Iran. So it looks like this is one of their first moves right here. They're withdrawing diplomats, most likely indicating they do not want to have any diplomatic ties with Iran anymore. There will be no negotiations for right now, and it makes you wonder if the next step is going to be military mobilization and Azerbaijan gets involved in some sort of way, whether that's boots on the ground or possibly some sort of strikes being carried out onto Iran. We don't really know what they're going to do yet, but it looks like they are making some moves right now. So now from AFP, says Israeli airstrikes left behind massive destruction in Beirut's southern suburbs on Friday morning, with the Israeli military saying it had destroyed Hezbollah targets. Yeah, look at these new images coming out from Beirut. So we've been talking about this also. The Israelis have been carrying out massive airstrikes inside of Beirut and leveling multiple buildings. It's starting to look like Gaza over here now. You can see here in this image another massive airstrike being carried out. They've actually called on many of the Beirut population to evacuate in certain areas over there because they were going to be carrying out multiple strikes onto supposed Hezbollah installations or buildings that are used by the Hezbollah faction. So yeah, lots of strikes being carried out over here and destruction over the past few days. This started just about, I want to say 2 days ago. Israel started striking over here, and this is all due to supposed reports that rockets were being fired from Lebanon into northern Israel. I think there were several rockets and several drones as well that were supposedly attacking into Israel, and this is what sparked this conflict once again, where Israel is now bombing Beirut. So I'll continue to follow this story as well. Not a whole lot of reports other than, certain strikes over here. Israel still continuing to put pressure on Hezbollah. So now Polymarket is reporting just in, U.S. Navy says they'll begin escorting ships to the Straits of Hormuz ASAP. Now this has been reported a lot recently over the past day or two that the U.S. Navy was preparing to start escorting ships to the Straits of Hormuz. Some U.S. officials believe it's going to be a lot more of a difficult task than what the U.S. Navy believes it's going to be. There's still ships being attacked over there. I think we had another one today. We should have a report on that in just a little bit. Ships coming under attack. These are like oil tankers and cargo ships that are trying to traverse through the Strait of Hormuz. And the U.S. Navy wants to escort ships through there to keep it open because right now it's basically shut down. It's not formally shut down by the RGC, but the RGC has claimed they will continue targeting ships over there, and they have been doing that. And we've had numerous ships that have caught fire, being attacked by sometimes unknown projectiles as well. So we'll have to wait and see what the U.S. Navy decides to do, but apparently they are going to try to escort ships over there using their own vessels. So now, as a defender, United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center has issued an advisory of an attack in the Strait of Hormuz, 6 nautical miles north of Oman, on a tug with unknown projectiles. So I'm assuming this is a tugboat that came under attack. You can see here just on the tip of Oman there, right near the Strait of Hormuz. It's kind of the area we're talking about in case you're not familiar. This is just south of Iran. This is Iran's territory here. This is Oman. And then the Strait of Hormuz is right here, where roughly about 20 to 30% of the world's oil flows and liquefied natural gas. Lots of cargo comes in and out of here as well from the Middle East. And it's currently, for the most part, shut down. So this report from UKMTO, it says here issue date was March 6, 2026. And it says here UKMTO has received a report of an incident 6 nautical miles north of Oman in the Straits of Hormuz. Third-party source has reported a tug being hit by unknown projectiles in the Straits of Hormuz. Authorities are investigating. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to UKMTO. So you can see right here by the Strait of Hormuz, this is where a lot of ships are avoiding. There's currently a lot of them down here in the Gulf of Oman and then also over here in the Persian Gulf. Close to the Strait of Hormuz, many of them are just anchoring off the coast here of Oman because a lot of them are afraid to go through the strait and risk getting attacked. Okay, it's also raising a lot of shipping prices right now. Insurance is raising incredibly throughout this region right now also, so it's causing a major issue over here when it comes to global trade. So this is also why the U.S. Navy is going to try to escort ships located here in the Straits of Hormuz. So we'll have to see what happens there. Okay, now from Clash Report, Trump downplayed the idea of a ground invasion of Iran, calling it a waste of time and indicating that such an operation is not something he is considering right now. He argued that Iran has already suffered major losses, saying they've lost everything. They've lost their navy. They've lost everything they can lose. Source was NBC News. So this came out yesterday evening. You can see here March 5th, 9:59 p.m. my time. That's going to be Pacific Standard Time in the United States. Okay, so Trump apparently telling NBC News there's no reason to launch any kind of ground invasion of Iran. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether the U.S. military was going to go in on the ground and maybe special forces could be inserted to maybe, let's say, target Iranian nuclear sites, get on the ground and try to blow them up because maybe aerial attacks is not going to be enough to destroy them. Trump saying right now that's not necessary, but still something he has mentioned recently is that they're not going to be willing to rule out boots on the ground. So you guys can let me know what you think. Do you think we will see boots on the ground? But in my opinion, if we get boots on the ground, that's where things could get very dangerous and the U.S. could get tied up in a war over there that could last much longer than expected. So I would assume, at least for right now, we're probably not going to see boots on the ground. We'll just see continuous aerial strikes, degrading the IRGC, their Navy, their Air Force, all their military installations, and try to destroy them as much as possible before they make any kind of decision. Then probably after a lot of these strikes cease, that's when I would think people would get back out on the streets again and start protesting while the IRGC and their security forces are currently suppressed and destroyed. Okay, moving on to insider paper now. Breaking, U.S. will not be able to provide enough missiles for Gulf states and Ukraine, EU commissioner says. So that's not good, okay? We haven't been talking too much about Ukraine because unfortunately there's not a whole lot of information coming out. But could the depletion of air defense interceptors, for example, or just missiles or anything, ammunition that's being used over in Iran right now, could that affect Ukraine? I think that could be a high possibility, especially air defense interceptors. We know Ukraine has recently, throughout the last few months, been claiming they've been running dry on those at many times. So that could possibly affect stocks because we know right now the U.S. is supplying air defense equipment over to the Ukrainians, but obviously NATO has to purchase that from the U.S. for them to receive it. But if they don't have the stocks, how are they going to get it over to Ukraine? So that could be a big problem there. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But so far, Zelensky from Ukraine has not mentioned anything like that. He hasn't been too concerned about it, but apparently could be an issue. So we'll have to wait and see. But regarding the Gulf states, they came out recently actually calling on the U.S. and saying, hey, we need more air defenses because apparently their stockpiles were dwindling as well due to these constant drone and missile attacks from Iran. And I heard a report, and it was kind of unconfirmed at the time, that the U.S. was kind of telling the Gulf nations, we don't have any choice. We can't supply you anything because we're low on it ourselves. So there's still a lot of transportation throughout Europe and the Middle East right now. Lots of flights going in and out, and they're bringing in more equipment. But we keep hearing a lot of reports that many of these Gulf states, along with the U.S., could be low on interceptors. What's going on, Raghorn? He says gas went up 80 cents a gallon overnight outside Chicago. Wow, that is crazy, man. Yeah, thankfully that hasn't happened here in my area yet. I'm in Nevada, and over here I haven't seen gas go up extremely yet. It's gone up probably about 30 cents over the last day or two, but nothing like that. That's close to $1 a gallon. That's pretty wild, man. That really sucks. But yeah, I expect it to get worse because actually let's check on oil prices right now. I just checked it earlier. It's changing so quickly. Let me see. So oil right now, oil prices, according to Market Watch, is up 12.6%, and we're sitting at $91.22 a barrel. So $91 a barrel, and yesterday we were at roughly about 80, I want to say, 79.80 or something like that, maybe a little bit over 80. But yeah, it's gone up roughly almost $10 in one day. So it's expected to get worse. I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. Unless they can get that Strait of Hormuz back open, then I think we could possibly see gas prices start to come back down a little bit. But in the meantime, I think with all these different threats over there in the Middle East and everything, there's just lots of talk of many different nations are going to be short on supplies, and nobody really knows how long this conflict is going to go on. Is it going to go on for 2 weeks? Is it going to go on for 4 weeks? Is it going to go on for 2 months or maybe 6 months? We had a report yesterday, I believe it was from Politico. They were claiming that this war could carry on all the way till September. So, I mean, nobody really knows when it's going to stop, and that's what's creating all these fears right now in the markets and forcing oil prices to rise. So, yeah, definitely get out there and fill up your tanks now before the prices continue rising, because I don't think we're done yet. I think it's going to keep going. All right, now from Assad commentary, Operation Roaring Lion. 100 plus hours is what they say. So Operation Roaring Lion is going to be the operation that Israel calls onto Iran. It says here 750 plus targets struck into Iran, 300 missile launchers dismantled, 600 terror infrastructure sites destroyed, 40 senior terrorists eliminated, 7,000 plus flight hours flown, 110,000 plus reservists mobilized. Wow, that's crazy. 110,000 that they mobilized there. So yeah, it says here Operation Roaring Lion, 100 plus hours. So yeah, there's kind of some of the numbers coming out from their side that they're reporting from the IDF, their military, the amount of strikes they've carried out, 750 plus targets just from the Israelis alone. That's not including the U.S. I think the U.S. was claiming yesterday they struck like 2,000 targets already. It's probably well beyond that by now. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of strikes. I know it kind of becomes redundant with some of these videos like, oh, okay, another strike. But that really shows the scale of these attacks onto Iran. I mean, we are just seeing constant bombardments onto Iran right now. The U.S. trying to utilize the time that they have to destroy the IRGC's capabilities. And speaking of strikes, here's another one. I don't think I'll be able to show the video here, but we can look at the screenshot from this. Marinafal, Israel launched more than 15 airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs in the latest wave. Video shows one of the strikes hitting a building in the Safir area on Old Sidon Road. Okay, so I'll link this down below for you guys, but I just want to pull this up on the big screen so you can kind of see. Look at this massive airstrike here on this building inside of Beirut. So as I showed you guys those photos earlier, several different buildings were being leveled, but I will cite this for you guys here. Let me give you the link in the chat if you want to go and check this out. There's the link for this clip. You guys can go and check that out if you want to, but it's got some different, it's got some different watermarks here on the screen, and I'm not sure if this is mainstream news that's covering that. Some of these videos I got to be careful what I show, so if you guys want to go check that out, go ahead and click on that link in the chat, okay? All right, now from next America isn't that great after all. Trump realizes he depends on Europe in the Iran war. According to Bloomberg, the U.S. operation against Iran relies heavily on European bases, airspace, and logistics. This includes access to airfields, infrastructure, and flight routes. Without them, strikes and military supply in the region would be significantly more difficult. Yet not long ago, Donald Trump accused Europe of complacency and demanded allies pay more for security. So most likely talking about NATO and everything, where he was trying to increase all these NATO nations to get up to 5% defense spending. So yeah, Bloomberg reporting this that the U.S. is heavily relying on European bases, and I'm pretty sure most of us are aware of that by now. I've shown you guys so many different flight radar images of constant flights coming out of Europe right now. I mean, if it wasn't for Europe, I don't think the U.S. military would be able to carry out this extensive of a campaign and bombing mission onto Iran. It would be much more difficult. I think they'd have to deploy more aircraft carriers over there because even just the bases in the Middle East, I don't think it's really enough for them to carry out these strikes. But just transferring of equipment alone, I'm sure a lot of it is stored over in Europe, and then they move it from Europe down to the Middle East. And we know that European allies are a huge support for operations down here. So it's interesting. It really shows how much, if Trump wants to carry out these actions, for example, onto Iran, they rely on Europe more than he claims they do. Kind of shoots down a lot of these stories in the past where Trump has claimed that Europe's not doing enough and whatnot. But when it comes to Trump needing Europe, well, obviously he's going to go utilize their bases, right? Okay, now from the Telegraph update, the U.S. will use British bases to increase the number of strikes on Iran dramatically, Pete Hegseth has said. Okay, so as we're talking about these bases being used, so they're going to be using British bases to surge Iran attacks, according to the Telegraph. Yeah, we should be seeing an increase in strikes. That's something that Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Secretary of War, stated just a few days ago. He mentioned that they were going to be increasing their attacks onto Iran, while at the same time, Iran's kind of saying the same thing, aren't they? The RGC commander came out, or one of their commanders was recently stating that they were going to be utilizing new weapons onto the U.S. here very soon in Israel, weapons they have not unveiled in the recent past. Now, we haven't seen anything super crazy yet. I mean, there's been some hypersonics, I believe, that were fired towards Israel. I saw a few videos that could have been unconfirmed. We've also seen multiple videos of cluster munition warheads that were deployed onto or utilized on ballistic missiles that were fired onto Israel. That's been reported many times. But yeah, guys, lots of information. I feel like there's just so much to cover here. Let me see what else I got. I think I've got more reports here that we can go over. I had a huge list today. There's just so much. Just give me one moment here. Let me set up a little bit more news for you guys. Yeah, we've got a few more posts here that we can go over. Let me just get this together real quick. Just give me just probably about a minute or two, and then I should have this ready to go. And we'll go over some of these other details. So yeah, a lot of this information, some of it coming out last night, some of it earlier today. I try to do that since, I'm really only able to be live here just once a day in the mornings for right now. So I want to try to cover some information that was breaking from yesterday evening when I wasn't here. So just one moment, guys. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Also, appreciate having all of you here and supporting the channel. All right. Let's see here. I got a couple of videos I can show you guys here coming out from Iran showing some strikes. Let's see. Just one moment, guys. About 30 seconds, and I will be ready. Thanks for your patience. All right. Oh, yeah, Trump came out and made a statement today. We'll go over that as well. He actually made a couple of statements. Okay, so I'm ready. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so Mossad commentary. Iran's missile bunkers backfiring. Iran built vast underground missile cities to protect its arsenal. But U.S. and Israeli forces are now striking launchers as they emerge and bombing tunnel entrances, trapping missiles underground. What was meant to protect Iran's arsenal may now be turning into a strategic mistake. So this is something to think about also. Like, let's say they've got a tunnel entrance that leads into a giant storage facility, kind of like what we're looking at here. If the U.S. just bombs the entrance and buries it, how are they going to get all these missiles out of there now? Maybe they've got multiple entrances. Maybe they've got even some secret entrances that are not known about. But this is another big one, too. Although they've created these underground bunkers to store all these different missiles and missile systems, they've also in some way become graves for these weapons, right? I mean, if they get destroyed and leveled completely, then obviously they can't utilize these missiles anymore. So it's kind of good and bad at the same time. But this is what this report coming out from the Wall Street Journal here. It says Iran's underground missile cities have become one of the biggest vulnerabilities. So, yeah, this is something that I talked about a long time ago as well, that many of their military installations are deep underground and might require, heavy bunker busting bombs. And could some of these even strike deep enough to destroy them? But simply, in my opinion, just destroying the entrances could be enough to just prevent these from even being used, at least in the meantime. And maybe that's why we're also seeing a huge amount of these missiles not being fired anymore. On top of these launchers being destroyed, many of these tunnel entrances probably being destroyed as well, which is greatly degrading their capabilities. So, very interesting report today on that one. Okay, so now for Mosin Defender, additional footage showing an ongoing Iranian missile and drone attack against Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan positions in Iraq. So we talked about the Kurdish people, that they could get involved in the fighting inside of Iran. It could possibly launch a ground invasion backed by U.S. support and air support. We have not been able to confirm that as of yet, but apparently the Iranians have been carrying out missile and drone attacks against the Kurdistan positions inside of Iraq. So I want you guys to see this clip here real quick. It's going to show a drone crashing into some of the positions here from the Kurdish forces.
لقورة بن خميني خازة لقورة بن خامني.
All right, so it seems like Iran is trying to put pressure onto the Kurdish population. As we continue to hear, they might be getting involved in this conflict. There have been reports of drone and missile attacks onto their positions. So yeah, this is a video allegedly confirming that, as we have been hearing some stories about this recently. Now, Insider Paper just in, Danish shipping giant Maersk suspends more routes over Middle East war. Okay, this is another big story too. This is kind of going back to the whole Straits of Hormuz situation. Maersk, if you guys are not familiar with that, this is one of the largest shipping companies in the entire world. And they recently announced they were going to be suspending certain traffic of their cargo containers or shipping containers, or ships, I guess I should say, excuse me, not shipping containers, cargo ships, excuse me, through the Strait of Hormuz due to the attacks onto Iran. Now they're apparently announcing as of today, you can see here March 6, 2026 at 1:37 a.m., they're suspending more routes over the Middle East war. Okay, so I'm not sure what other areas they are suspending ships to go near there, but I would assume it's going to be near Iran that they are suspending these routes. This is only going to greatly impact lots of logistics around the world, as Maersk is one of the biggest shipping giants. Okay, so that's very big news, and this is only going to continue to hurt the global economy. Okay, now from Clash Report, Chinese warplanes have not entered Taiwan's air defense zone for 7 days, longest pause on record for unknown reasons. The lull comes amid the Middle East war and ahead of planned Trump-Xi meeting. Source was Bloomberg. Okay, this is interesting. So we continue to hear all the time that the Chinese warplanes are, flying inside of Taiwanese airspace or very close to their airspace, pretty much putting pressure on Taiwan all the time. There's been this looming threat of an attack onto Taiwan for years now. Some people still reporting that it could happen in the next few years, maybe even sooner. Could it happen now while the U.S. is tied up in the Middle East? We're seeing the opposite. Instead of the Chinese putting more pressure onto Taiwan right now, over the last week, ever since the U.S. went into Iran, they're actually not flying near Taiwan's air defense zone for 7 days now. So they're calling this the longest pause on record, and nobody really knows why. But in my opinion, I think it has a lot to do with oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. I'm sure China is very concerned right now. They don't want to put pressure onto the United States and what's going on over there, because if these oil flows get cut off indefinitely for a long time, I think it's really going to impact the Chinese economy. So maybe that's why they're pulling back their pressure off of Taiwan in the meantime. I think they're more concerned about what's happening there with the Strait of Hormuz than anything else right now, because their economy will probably start to collapse if they cannot receive many of these critical commodities that come out of the Middle East. So, very interesting report. That was Bloomberg that was reporting that today. All right, now from the Kobesi letter, says breaking, Kuwait has begun cutting production at its oil fields after running out of room to store its bottled up crude oil. This was according to the Wall Street Journal. Details include number one, Kuwait is discussing limiting production to just what it needs to cover domestic consumption. Number two, a decision on those broader cutbacks is expected within days, sources say. And number three, once production is shut, restarting production can take days or even weeks. Number four, Kuwait's 2.6 million barrels of oil production per day appear to be at risk. Oil storage in the Gulf countries is nearing maximum capacity. Okay, so because a lot of these oil flows cannot come out of the Middle East right now because the Strait of Hormuz is shut down, their oil capacity is meeting maximum capacity right now. A lot of their storage tanks are full in many of these nations, especially in Kuwait. So they're actually talking about cutting production right now, their oil fields, because they don't have anywhere else to store this oil and they can't offload it onto ships. So that's a big problem right now. So it mentions here that if they shut down, restarting production can take days or even weeks. We heard about this with Qatari liquefied natural gas, an energy company over there selling liquefied natural gas to the world. They were reporting that they were going to be shut down for 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even longer, and it could take them a week or longer just to get restarted. So it could be a month, month and a half, or longer that company is going to be shut down, and they supply some of the most liquefied natural gas to the entire world. And I did hear some other reports as well that not only is it affecting liquefied natural gas and also oil, but what's also being affected that comes out of the Strait of Hormuz is fertilizer. And that's a big one. I did not even know that. I heard that watching some other information. And the fact that fertilizer comes out of there as well, a large majority of it for the world, is that going to impact food supply as well? That's very dangerous. So we're looking at so many different sectors of economies here that can be impacted just from strictly the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. So I think it's very vital for the American military to get that thing open as soon as possible, because I think the longer that it stays shut down, the worse things are going to be, obviously. And look at this too. Mario Nawfal, since we're talking about food, Gulf countries may run out of fresh food stocks in days. The war with Iran is choking supply chains. 18% of global air cargo is already grounded, and sea routes are crumbling fast. Many Gulf countries import almost everything, and fresh fruits, vegetables, and other perishables could be the first to vanish. Time is running out. Okay, so as we can see, supply chains being greatly impacted here. It says 18% of global air cargo is already grounded. Sea routes are crumbling. Yeah, they could be running out of food here as well in some of these Gulf nations due to the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. So they're obviously going to be impacted first because, if exports can't go out, that means imports can't come in. And that includes food. So not good to see over here, guys. That's why, in my opinion, I have a feeling that maybe this conflict might be over sooner than we expect. Could it be over in the next week? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm sure Trump is concerned about this right now. This is definitely creating a lot of problems in the Middle East and for the entire world. And I think, in my opinion, the longer this goes on, it will impact markets even further and economies around the world. So we're probably going to see an end to this conflict sooner than later, but I think it all depends on how things go over there. And based on what we're hearing from U.S. officials, they're doing a pretty good job over there striking inside of Iran and taking out their military. So we'll see what happens there. So now a few posts from Trump that I want to go over here. This from Clash Report. So he was sharing this from Trump on True Social. This actually came out today, March 6, 2026 at 5:52 a.m. So just earlier this morning. This was Trump here on True Social on his platform. He says there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. After that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leader or leaders, we and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction. making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. And he puts MIGA there. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so he's saying there is no deal with Iran. We had reports yesterday that the Iranians were allegedly reaching out to the United States for a deal, and Trump was saying, no, we're not going to make a deal. But then we also heard conflicting reports that the Iranian side was saying they're not going to basically negotiate with the U.S. So it's kind of back and forth with that story. But Trump is confirming here there will be no deal with Iran. He's saying accept unconditional surrender. So he wants the IRGC to surrender to the U.S., and he talks about the selection of a great and acceptable leader or leaders. Apparently, Trump, some reports have come out saying that Trump wants to be involved in the selection process of who will be the supreme leader or who will be in power inside of Iran. We'll have to see how that will go, because that's kind of what we saw happening in inside of Venezuela after Maduro was taken out from the U.S. military. Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, ended up taking over the country. And for what we understand, Trump or the Trump administration was involved in that process of selecting her. So now we could possibly see the same thing happening over here, or at least that's Trump's plan. But yeah, we have been hearing also that the IRGC has been putting pressure on some of their government leaders over there inside of Iran to elect somebody as soon as possible, but we're also hearing at the same time that's being put on hold. So very interesting post there from Trump today. Here's another one now from ViceGrad24, and this was another post from Trump earlier this morning. He says, we are moving thousands of people out of various countries throughout the Middle East. It is being done quietly but seamlessly. The State Department under Secretary Marco Rubio is doing a great job, President Donald J. Trump. So I'm not sure who he's talking about when he's saying people are being moved out of various countries throughout the Middle East. Are we talking about like diplomats or like government leaders? Are we talking about innocent civilians? I don't really know exactly too much behind this. If you guys want to comment, speculate in the chat for me what you think is going on behind this. But yeah, Trump stating that they're moving thousands of people quietly and covertly right now out of the Middle East regarding these countries, most likely that are constantly being under attack. I'm sure many of the Gulf nations, a lot of people are probably trying to leave and get out of there in the meantime too, while this conflict is breaking out, because drones and missiles are constantly hitting some of these Gulf nations. But yeah, that's what Trump stated there today. So wow, guys, yeah, lots of information coming out. I think that was the bulk of the information I had for you guys, but now we're going to go over some latest details here. Let me pull up some other information, and we'll cover some other stories here that are coming out. So we talked a little bit about oil prices earlier. If you guys want to take a look at this here, Kobesi letter. This is truly incredible to watch. 5 minutes ago, U.S. crude oil prices surged above $91.50 a barrel. Now we are at above $92.50, adding $1 barrel, in 5 minutes. This puts prices up $12 a barrel in 9 hours. We are witnessing a historic short squeeze as we speak. So yeah, there you go. This was just being reported in the last 45 minutes or so. At one point, we were up to $92 a barrel. That's right about what I was letting you guys know it earlier. So yeah, oil price is definitely skyrocketing right now based on what's happening in the Middle East. So I'll try to find some more sources here of information, see if we get some updated news that came out here in the last hour or so. Let me see what information I can find. Okay, so we're still hearing reports also that Gulf nations are still under attack. This was just coming out in the last hour. This is from Channel 12 News out of Israel. They're stating that U.S. Central Command says Iranian forces fired 6 drones at civilian residential neighborhoods in Bahrain on Thursday evening. Okay, so that was apparently yesterday night. We have reports that drones were still striking inside of Bahrain. I'm going to take a look at some more sources here, see what else I can find for you. Let me see. By the way, hope you guys are having a great day today. Happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in for all the news. That was a lot that we just covered there. Let's see here. Yeah, let me know what you guys are planning for the weekend. If you got anything going on, share down in the chat there. Not sure what I'm gonna do yet. I'm gonna wait and see. Okay, I've got some video here now also that appears to show a missile that just struck Prince Sultan Air Base. Excuse me, Air Base in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, my voice still kind of cutting out. I've been sick recently. I'm going to put this down in the chat for you guys if you want to check this out. But this is reportedly a missile that was incoming to Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. Let me pull this up for you guys on the screen. One second here. So yeah, I'm going to put this in the chat. So that's apparently a missile right now coming in this video. So if you guys want to go check that out, there's the link in the chat on my latest message there for you. And this is allegedly a missile that was coming in to Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. This is being reported by Clash Report. That could actually be one of the first missiles that I've had reports of onto Prince Sultan Air Base. We did have reports that drones were attacking that air base recently, but I'm not sure about missiles. But yeah, multiple sources showing that today. That was coming out in just the last hour that we could have had a missile directly striking that airbase. So what's worrying about that is we've been hearing that Saudi Arabia has been talking about getting involved in the conflict. They might possibly do that. So that could, with these kind of strikes like that, that could definitely draw Saudi Arabia in. They have been attacked numerous times recently. Even their oil refinery, one of their major ones, I think it's the largest one in their nation, came under attack a few days ago and caught fire. All right, let me see what else I got here. Okay, here's some information regarding the U.S. military and Iran. This could be a big development right here. Check this out from OSINT Defender. U.S. Army has abruptly canceled a major training exercise for the headquarters element of the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, fueling speculation within the Defense Department that soldiers specializing in ground combat and a range of other missions may be sent to the Middle East to join the war against Iran. Sources tell the Washington Post the 82nd Airborne operates a brigade combat team consisting of several thousand soldiers, which alongside elements of the U.S. Air Force are kept on high alert, allowing them to undertake an airborne deployment on 18 hours' notice with no prior warning, for missions as varied as seizing airfields and other critical infrastructure to evacuations, known more commonly as the Immediate Response Force, or IRF. Okay, so that's interesting. So the 82nd Airborne could be getting involved in the Middle East here very soon. That's more signs that this war is going to be expanding. Okay, if they're canceling their major training exercise, that means more forces could be deployed over there. And last we knew, according to the Trump administration, roughly about 50,000 troops are currently active with this fight against Iran right now. All right, let's see here. Just checking some more sources here, guys. Just bear with me. See if I can find anything else, any other big news that's coming out right now. Okay, so here's an interesting story coming out. This is regarding CNN, actually, with China. China helping out the Iranians, since we were talking about that earlier. Look at this report here from Feitukes News. U.S. has intelligence suggesting that China may be preparing to provide Iran with financial assistance, spare parts, and missile components, according to multiple sources, reported by CNN. So it says the U.S. also has intelligence suggesting that China may be preparing to provide Iran with financial assistance, spare parts, missile components. 3 people familiar with the matter said, though Beijing has stayed out of the war up until now. China relies heavily on Iranian oil and has reportedly been pressuring Tehran to allow safe passage for vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. So that's something that I wonder too. Let's say this war carries on for, let's say, 3 months or 6 months, and it doesn't seem to have any apparent end. I'm sure China's going to be under heavy pressure at that point. They probably already are right now, which is why they're thinking about helping out the Iranians and reportedly trying to pressure Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz and stop attacking it. Makes you wonder how China's going to be responding at some point. Could they even get involved in this war? Hopefully that would not be the case, but that's a pretty big development there, that China is looking to get more involved. On top of this report today, if you guys are just tuning in, as you can see here on your screen, Russia is supplying Iran intelligence to target U.S. forces. We talked about that story earlier today, that allegedly U.S. officials believe that Russia is giving intelligence information to the Iranians to target the U.S. military with these attacks. Okay, still seeing more videos coming out from Beirut. We talked a lot about that already. I don't think we need to show any more information on that at the moment. Let's see here. Okay, so apparently we had a statement coming out from the Iranian Foreign Ministry, or Foreign Affairs. So let's take a look at this report here. Let me close some of these. This is from Nexta. It says Iran threatens Europe with war. If Europe intervenes in the conflict, EU countries will become legitimate targets for Iran. This was stated by the deputy head of Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Earlier, Iran attacked a French base in the UAE and British bases in Cyprus. Okay, so we already know right now, basically multiple nations, I think it's like Italy, France, numerous other countries. I can't remember all the names of them, but I know for sure those two. They've already deployed naval assets over to Cyprus in the Eastern Mediterranean to help defend their skies, because there is a British base that's located inside of Cyprus that reportedly was actually struck by a drone recently that could have been fired from Hezbollah, which obviously is tied back to Iran. That was being reported here recently in the last 24 hours. So we already know that multiple European nations are involved. We also know that French Rafale fighter jets, as far as I know, are operating over the UAE to protect their skies also, as all this different energy infrastructure is being attacked by the Iranians. The French are trying to help defend their skies. So looks like the Iranians are warning right now Europe for getting involved into this conflict, that they could start attacking them as well. Okay, let me see here. Okay, I'm still hearing more reports that the U.S. is engaging Iranian-backed militia inside of Iraq, I believe. Huh. Okay, we've been seeing reports that apparently the U.S. military came into an engagement with Iraqi forces, like near the border of Iran, just the other day when the power was getting cut out. Apparently, there's some reports now that Iranian proxy groups could be battling with the U.S. military inside of Iraq right now. I have been seeing some reports about that. That could be very interesting developments there. Just checking some more sources, see if we got anything else. Hope you guys are having a good day today. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your patience while I comb through some of this news that we got for you guys. We'll probably be here for a few more minutes before we end stream. So thanks so much for tuning in today. Just checking to see if we've got anything else right now in the last like 30 minutes to an hour. See if there's any new information coming out. I'm Still seeing a lot of strikes in Beirut. Apparently, Israel's still really picking up their attacks over there, but we've kind of been talking about that already. I'm not seeing much else at the moment. Okay, apparently we had some missiles that were being fired towards Israel right now. Okay, so Iran's capabilities are not completely depleted yet. This is Channel 12 News just coming out in the last hour and a half or so. Air raid sirens in central Israel. Missile launch from Iran intercepted. No reports of casualties. So we still have missiles going over to Israel here recently in the last few hours. Here's a satellite image also coming out from China. They're detecting some sort of ship going through the Suez Canal. Look at this from Clash Reports. As Chinese radar satellites have detected a naval formation entering the Suez Canal, believed to be the USS Ford Carrier Strike Group. Okay, that's interesting. As far as we knew, the USS Gerald Ford was supposed to be here off the coast of Israel. And apparently they're detecting it going through the Suez Canal right now, or some sort of carrier strike group could be going through there. Now, I'm not sure why. That's something that I actually wondered was if the Gerald Ford was going to move closer to Iran. Lately, it's been defending Israel. Now, I wonder also, because we had a report earlier that Israel's planning to have one of their airlines, was it El Al, I think is how you pronounce it. One of their major airlines are now going to start boarding flights for outbound flights, meaning that maybe they're not so concerned about strikes anymore coming from Iran. So that makes me wonder if maybe this is a sign that Israel's not concerned about having to defend their airspace. Maybe they told the U.S. military that they could leave and maybe head over to support the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. So that could possibly be what this is. This was just coming out in the last 45 minutes. The USS Gerald R. Ford could be on its way closer to Iran to support strike missions. And then if we tie in our other story that we had in the last 24 hours that the U.S. military is expecting to pick up strikes onto Iran, this would probably be something else they would do to move these assets closer to Iran to support more strike missions. So that's a very big report right there and a big update, and I'll continue to monitor that. If we get confirmation that the USS Gerald R. Ford is on the move, that looks like to me that Iran's long strike capabilities are being depleted, and the U.S. is going to continue pounding them to basically try to finish them off, is I think what is probably happening here. Yeah, you're welcome, Jay Fitzgerald. No problem, man. Thank you for being here. IMA 1983 says Pakistan moving heavy artillery equipment and 30,000 men along the Iran border. I heard about that. I saw one report about that yesterday, and I tried to research that. Let me see if I can find anything about that, because you're right, I did hear about that. If you're able to find like an article that talks about that, let me know. But I have not been able to confirm that. The only thing that I've really been hearing coming out from Pakistan is that Pakistan is currently still engaging with Afghanistan, with the Taliban over there. There's still been major clashes and exchange of fire. It says here, Pakistani-Afghan border forces clash as UN says. This is actually coming out from Reuters. Yeah, they're claiming that they're exchanging fire. That was in the last 10 hours. But in terms of thousands of Pakistani soldiers showing up at the border there with Iran, I have not been able to confirm that at all. I am seeing, Google's kind of reporting Pakistan has put its border with Iran in the Balochistan province on high alert, with troops deployed and surveillance increase following escalating U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. So, there is a little bit of talk about. That's from the AI overview on Google. They're stating that there is some form of deployment there. But it's interesting because there's no mainstream news really covering that story. So I'm not really sure I wanted to cover that here, but I have not been able to confirm it, so I didn't really want to bring that up yet if it's not 100% confirmed. But if you guys have any information on that, let me know. Um, let me know down in the comments or the chat. Yeah, chat about that and let me know. But take a look at this too, since we're talking about gas prices today. Polymarket reports just in Trump on the gas prices. He says if they rise, they rise. So Trump's not concerned about the gas prices. So what if they go to $120 a barrel? Trump's not concerned about $120 a barrel oil. That's pretty crazy. I mean, what I'm thinking is they have plans to try to end this sooner. That's just my opinion. I think they're planning to try to stop this war much sooner than people expect. Even though there's reports that it could take 4 or 5 weeks or longer, and I could be wrong about that, but just based on some things that I see coming out from the U.S. administration, it almost seems like they're going to try to get this thing wrapped up and over with a little bit sooner than people are expecting. So we'll have to wait and see. We've got a report here that European natural gas prices are still spiking. Since we're talking about gas prices now, natural gas prices in Europe up over 65% over the past week. That's pretty crazy. That's higher than what we were reporting just a couple of days ago after Qatar's biggest liquefied natural gas company basically declared force majeure, I think is how you say it. And they're not going to be exporting any liquefied natural gas for right now. And obviously Strait of Hormuz is shut down. So yeah, this has greatly impacted European natural gas prices right now. Do we have anybody here from Europe that can confirm? Are you guys seeing any reports of, gas prices extremely skyrocketing in your areas? I know we have some European viewers here, so if you guys got any information, let us know in the comments or in the chat. I keep saying comments because I'm used to doing videos, but in this case, a chat. But maybe if you watch this video after the live, you could comment as well. Strange how Pakistan move on Taliban after Trump say he wanted Afghanistan base back. Pakistan general was at the White House. Yeah, I thought it was interesting also. It made me wonder why, if this has anything to do with this war in Iran. All this fighting started, just about 1 or 2 days before the U.S. struck Iran. We were just talking about that. I did a video on that I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, right before the U.S. went into Iran. That's when the fighting began between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So, yeah, really makes you wonder if it is tied in. It could possibly be. And then we've also talked about whether this has anything to do with China, too, this whole war with Iran. You guys can let me know what you think about that. But some people believe that this has to do with controlling China. Obviously China's heavily reliant on supplies out of the Middle East, gas and whatnot. So could this be to control China as well? Maybe. Okay, let me see what else I got for you guys here. Okay, we got a new report coming out from Reuters talking about the Kurdish soldiers that are on the border with Iran. Open source intel: Israel has been bombing parts of western Iran to support Iranian Kurdish militias who hope to exploit the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran to seize towns near the frontier. Sources tell Reuters. So yeah, apparently the Israelis have been supporting their efforts to possibly launch a ground incursion or invasion into Iran. And this would be probably one of the first ground operations, period. The U.S. military would not necessarily be involved, but could they support maybe strike missions, aerial missions for the Kurdish troops on the ground? Maybe. That's something that has been reported as well. Okay, let's see what else we got, guys. Yeah, I'm not seeing much else at the moment. I think we're pretty much, for the most part, caught up on the news here. Yeah, once again, we've got the Iranians still warning Europe right now that if they get involved in the fighting, they will be struck. Okay, here's an update on the fallen soldiers, fallen U.S. soldiers that have been killed in these attacks from Iran. As a defender, according to Fox News, citing a White House official, U.S. President Donald J. Trump will attend the dignified transfer of the 6 U.S. service members killed in Iranian strikes during Operation Epic Fury. So Trump will be attending the transfer of these troops that have been killed in combat. And from what we understand, I believe the 6 U.S. service members that were killed should have been out of Kuwait. From what we heard, there was like a makeshift command center or control hub that was set up, and that building was struck, I believe, from a Iranian drone. Could have been a missile, but I believe it was a drone. And actually took the lives of these service members. And apparently, while the building was still smoldering and burning, it took a little while for U.S. forces to comb through the wreckage and figure out who, if anybody was alive or anything like that. And in the end, they were able to find out there was actually 6 U.S. service members that have been killed. I believe all of them were during that one strike, if I'm not mistaken. Apparently, some lawmakers in California are warning that gas prices could surge above $8 per gallon. So that's why I was asking earlier, Trump saying, I'm not concerned about gas prices rising. What if they go to $8 a gallon? I mean, that's definitely not going to be good, right? We'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Here's a new report in the last 28 minutes. Let me pull this up too. New reports out of Israel. As a defender, at least 7 KC-135R Stratotakers with the U.S. Air Force are returning to air bases in Israel after supporting fighter operations today, possibly by F-22 Raptors over the Persian Gulf. This is coming out of Flight Radar 24, showing these aerial refueling tankers heading back to Israel after these massive strikes. And we did show some videos coming out today. Lots of strikes being carried out onto Iran, obviously. Let's see if we got anything else real quick before we head out. Okay. Here's an update coming out from the U.S. administration regarding how long this war is going to be continuing, since we were talking about that earlier too. See if we can go over this real quick. Faytooks News, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has told Arab foreign ministers that the war with Iran is expected to last several more weeks, according to sources familiar with the conversations. This is reported by Axios today. Okay, so they're saying possibly several more weeks. Now, that ties into the timeline of 4 to 5 weeks. I mean, we're coming up on the first week right now. I think tonight will be completed as 1 week inside this war over here between Iran, the U.S., and Israel. So they're saying it could be several more weeks. That was just coming out in the last couple hours here from Axios. All right, at the moment, yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of other updates, guys, so I kind of got to get out of here. I got some other things I got to take care of. We've been here for just a little bit over 2 hours now, so guys, I want to thank you very much for being here. I will for sure be returning tomorrow around the same time. If you guys tuned in today, I got here right around 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll probably be here around the same time tomorrow, okay? I think that timing's been working out pretty good. We're usually here for a couple hours at least discussing this conflict over here in the Middle East. And we try to get some updates out of Ukraine. Unfortunately, Ukraine did not have too many updates today. I'm really not seeing a whole lot at all. Hey, Jay Fitzarelli, thanks so much for joining as a member, man. Thanks for becoming a studio technician. You can pretty soon be a camera operator if you want to. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to be it for now. I've got to run. I've got some things I got to do. But nonetheless, I really appreciate you guys being here and supporting the channel, and just hanging out with me, checking out all this crazy news throughout the world. There's just so much happening, but I will continue to monitor all these big events happening. Hopefully we get some more news out of Ukraine. I want to get back to covering Ukraine again as well, and I think we might start to see that here very soon, because as this war is slowly starting to kind of wind down, at least that's how it seems at the moment. It could change inside the Middle East. We might start to get more information out of Ukraine, and we can start doing more videos on that as well. So, but yeah, guys, thanks so much for being here. Today's date, March 6, 2026 on Friday. I hope you guys have a great start to your weekend out there. Everybody take care and stay safe, and we will see you all in the next one. Guys, have a great day. We'll see you later.